So welcome, Herb.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Happy to be connected down under for once. It's been a while.
I know, it's fantastic. I'm so happy to have you because you not only you're a world famous globetrotter and you're just fantastic where you were, but you're just doing so many other fantastic things, And the thing that really attracts me to you is your kindness. Like, it's just, you're so focused on kindness, and I absolutely adore you for that.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's something that for me, I think that it was instilled in me through my grandparents growing up, just the way that they were around the community, the way that they looked out for people, and for me, it's something that I took on at a very young age. And as far as the way that my life has been able to develop, a lot of the major things that have happened for me are
Mm.
because of the kindness of other people. So it's only right that with my journey all around the world and the places I've been to, that I've come back and spread it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell us about tell us about the Herb as a young boy. You're talking about your grandmother. Like, what was your childhood like?
Oh man, well, my childhood, it was fun. It wasn't easy. My mom had me at the age of 17, and by the time she was 25 years old, she had six of us.
Wow.
And we grew up in a small town in Arkansas, and up until I was about, I think it was 10 years old, we lived in the housing projects, or the poor part
Yeah.
of the town. I mean, it was almost impossible with a single mom, so to speak, with six kids.
Mm.
But luckily for myself and my siblings, we were surrounded by a lot of friends and family. My mom, along with having me at the age of 17, she also had 12 other brothers and sisters that were around to help raise us as well. So I mean, it was a little bit chaotic, but for me, I wouldn't trade anything with the way that I grew up for nothing. I mean, just the people that I was surrounded with, the people that were able to encourage me and make sure that I stayed on the right track, because a lot of people from where I grew up didn't stay on the right track, and a lot of them ended up getting in trouble. And if you go back to my hometown now, you'll still see a lot of them not really having advanced anywhere over the past 25 years or so. So it's been a blessing, and for me to be able to travel all around the world and represent those people of my hometown is really something that I take pride in, as well as
Yeah.
spreading kindness.
Oh, absolutely love it. But not everybody makes the most of their upbringing, do they? Do you know, like, it's I think we've got a choice. We've always got that choice to say, well, I'm a victim of my circumstances, or I'm in charge of my life and I can choose to go in whatever direction I want to go in. So I mean, we don't all get to choose the exact path, but we can choose to have the rough road, or we can choose to say, no, I want something better for myself. So, not
Yeah,
everyone takes
yeah,
that.
it's a matter of who you choose to be and who you choose to surround yourself with as well, because
Mm.
you are a product of your environment as well. And for myself, at a very young age, it was probably, I'd say, 12 years old, that I figured that, hey, I knew I needed something, needs to do some things different than what
Mm.
some of my uncles and aunts and
Yeah.
other people did before, in order for me to get to where I wanted to go. And so that's why it was important for me to hyper focus in on sport, which was basketball eventually, as well as my grades, which,
Mm.
and going to high school here in the United States, I was able to not only be a pretty good basketball player, but also be elected class president and, National Honor Society, and making good grades, because I wanted to make sure that I was prepared to be able to go to college, even if I didn't have, the athletic ability to get a scholarship and not have to pay for college, which fortunately for me, it would have worked out either way. If it was not for basketball, I still would have had an opportunity to go to school.
Mm. Yeah. Do you think that you deliberately made that choice at 12? Do you know, did like, because that's a young age to be really consciously going, look around me, I need to do something different. Or was there somebody in your life that inspired you, that made you think, I want to be like him, or her, I can see my path out of here if I be like this person?
And you must have been reading my mind, because one of the things about where I grew up at, it wasn't until 12 years old that you could even get into organized sports. So it was the first time that I was able to play like organized American football, organized basketball. And at that point, when I got to seventh grade or 12 years old, is when I met my high school basketball coach. And my high school basketball coach was the person who probably had the biggest influence on my life besides my parents.
Mm.
Um, you know, from the age of 12, he had a son that was in the same grade and the same age as myself, and we just kind of navigated to each other. And some of the things that he shared with me over the course of that, 7th through 12th grade, those 5, 6 years, being able to go up and down the highways with him, playing basketball tournaments, understand, he was married, he had a wife, my best friend and my high school coach. It was what you call a complete family. And I came from a single parent home. So I was able to be around them enough to realize that, hey, this is probably the path that I want to go down. And then he was a basketball coach. He was a physical education teacher, and he had been coaching for a long time. And he told me that over the course of his coaching days, there had been many a great athlete to come through, but not all of them were able to go to that next level because, for one, they simply were not coachable, and then they just decided they didn't want to make the grades. So
Mm.
for myself, I was focused on locking in, and just being surrounded by even then young people. There was about 5 or 6 of us who we not only competed in sports, we also competed in the classroom and see who make the best grades. So I think that was something that definitely led me down in the right direction. And again, my high school basketball coach, along with a lot of other people around my community, friends and family, were people who supported me. And I know that these people today are the same people who are proud, to see some of the things that I've been able to accomplish, and they, get to live vicariously through me and my travels and the things I've been able to do, post high school.
Yeah. That's awesome. Did you when you realize you got this coach and he's really good and he's, inspiring you, and you're sort of going, oh yeah, I can see myself living a better life, like a better life, maybe I've got a good job, I get through college, I become I don't know, a lawyer or a doctor, or I become something that's going to give me a steady income. Did you ever
Right.
imagine or dream that you would be an elite basketball player? Like, was that ever in your imagination or your dreams?
Well, I always dreamed to be a professional athlete growing up playing, again, American football and basketball. But there was a situation that happened in the 8th grade. We were taking a class, we were all required to take a class called career orientation. And this was back in the late 80s, early 90s. They were out, but they weren't what they were these
Yeah,
days. So there were
yeah,
like boxes,
yeah.
boxes of these different pamphlets where you can look in and try to figure out what career that you wanted to choose. And I just remember um, her passing the box around, and us kind of looking through it, and then kind of at the end she would go around and say, all right, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I remember just getting almost nervous when she was coming around to me, because what I wanted to be, I hadn't found it yet within that box. And so I ended up telling her, when it came to my time, I said I wanted to be a professional athlete. And I just remember her telling me that she suggested I get back in that box and start looking for another career path, because I had a better chance of winning the lottery. But at the
Oh,
same time, I understood why, why she told me that.
mm,
But again, it was my high school basketball coach telling me that I could. And one of the good things about her, kind of reinforcing that to a certain extent, is that it made me focus in a little bit more on my grades, because back then I was small. I mean, you would understand why she was laughing at me if you knew how small I was in 7th grade. I was like 5 feet tall. I was the guy. If you looked at that basketball picture from 7th through 9th grade, you see the smallest guy right there, and you're like, guess which one went pro? Yeah, that was me. That was me, that guy that ended up having that growth spurt, and ended up earning a basketball scholarship. But yeah, for me, to become a Globetrotter was more than a dream come true. I always used to have dreams of playing in front of large audiences, and I often tell people I never really knew what uniform I had on, and obviously it must have been the Harlem Globetrotters uniform, and it was meant to be, taking me to almost 90 countries around the world, several trips, down under, and spreading kindness, joy, and goodwill all around the world. So, been more than a dream come true becoming a professional athlete.
oh, that's fantastic. So I'm only 5 foot. So do you think there's hope for me? Or okay.
Well, hey, there was a guy that I played with, and we're still really good friends. His name is Jonte Hall. We used to call him, well, we still call him Too Tall, at 5'2".
Yeah.
And the reason why we call him, well, one of the reasons why we called him Too Tall is because when he signed with the team, we also signed another guy named Paul Sturgis. He's from Britain. He's the tallest living British man. He's still, doing his thing. He actually has a role in the new Lord of the Rings coming up. He was
Yeah.
down in Australia filming all through COVID and during those times. So he's the tallest living Brit, and we called him Tiny, and we called the 5'2" guy Too Tall.
I love it. Well, I think I'm a little too old to be nimble enough to be playing for the Globetrotters. But anyway, I'm going to keep dreaming this.
Hey, and there's female players. Females play with the Globetrotters as well. To let those young ladies know that, hey, just because the guys are out there doing it, don't mean you can't do it with them. It's equal rights, baby.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't realize there were female ones as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's fantastic.
The Globetrotters were the first team to actually allow women to play with men on a professional level.
Wow. Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, how old were you when you joined the Globetrotters?
Well, when I graduated college, I ended up going back to finish my degree because I didn't have any opportunities to go as far as NBA. They had a lockout that year, but I was 21 years old when I graduated from college. After I graduated, I worked as a personal trainer for about 10 months before getting the opportunity to go to the training camp for the Globetrotters back in 1999. And hey, that turned into 18 years of world traveling and joy spreading and being an ambassador of goodwill.
Did they invite you, or did you have to apply for that?
Well, the way that it happened, Karen, is that so when I graduated from college, again, I was working this job as a personal trainer. I wasn't making very much money, but I was getting pretty buff. I
Yeah.
was getting some weight up, and my college good friend, and eventually he was my roommate after graduation. He went to a Globetrotter game while I was at work one night. And I just remember when I got home from work, he was just super excited to show me this program that he got and to tell me that he had gone to the Globetrotters game and it was at our college campus. And he showed me this pamphlet and he said, "Man, I went to the game and I got the 800 number. I talked to one of the coaches and I think that you could become a Globetrotter." And I remember kind of blowing it off, kind of look through it and push it off to the side. And he was just saying, I think that you could do all the things that they can do, and the things that you can't do right now, you can learn to do
Yep.
them. And about 2 weeks later, I came home from work after a tough day, and I asked him, I said, "Hey man, where's that program at? I think I'm going to call the 800 number in that book." And I ended up calling that 800 number, and the rest is history. They told me they would put me down for their training camp, based on what they knew about me and some video and other things that I had sent to them. So it was the belief that someone else had in me. Again, the kindness that I'm
Yep.
talking about,
Yep.
kind enough to think almost even more of myself, than I thought, because I never even imagined playing for the Globetrotters. And he put that vision, that possibility in my mind, and I'm forever grateful for him. I just had a chance to see him 2 days ago over in Austin, Texas, and I had a chance to introduce him as I spoke in front of a group of high school freshmen for their orientation, getting them prepared for high school. He was able to be there, and I was able to give them an example of the
Yep.
importance of connection. My friend is a 5'7" little Asian former soccer player, who went up to the Globetrotters coach and said, "What do I have to do to be a Globetrotter?" Oh, but not for me, but for my friend. So I just wanted to let them know, and I let people know that it's about connection. It's about how you treat people. It's that old Maya Angelou saying, "People remember how you make them feel." And
Yep.
I apparently made my friend feel great enough to where he trusted that I could go out there and become a Globetrotter, and look what it turned into. I feel like now, because of the impact and the belief that he had in me, I'm definitely making a big difference in the world, and so is he in turn.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% with that. Relationships are everything. I don't care nothing is the same as a relationship. So build as many as you can, but make sure they're genuine and deep and really meaningful. And I just, you can't go wrong. And it's not to have a relationship with somebody. It's not about what can you do for me. It's just that I just enjoy being with you.
Yeah,
I just love being
yeah,
around you. So it's
yeah.
incredible. It pays off, but not just pays off with transactions that they can bring you. That's a byproduct. What it pays off with is
The feeling,
you
the
get to
feeling.
be happy. Yeah, you just sit in this beautiful space, and I absolutely love it. I bang on about it all the time. Now you were in there for 18 years, and almost 100 countries. How often did you travel internationally? Like was there a lot of travel? I mean, of course you're a globetrotter, but
Yeah, there was a lot of travel. So the basically the schedule, the way it worked is that we typically would have training camp around September, October, and immediately after training camp, which I mean we have 2 or 3 teams sometimes that we would break off into. So immediately after training camp, usually there would be an international tour, whether it's to Europe, South America, or Asia, or even Australia, and that tour would be pretty short, maybe 2 or 3 weeks or a month, and you get to come home and kind of decompress for a little bit before leaving out either on Christmas Day or the day before Christmas. And that tour right there is the domestic tour here in the United States. And
yeah.
that tour goes from December through typically around May. So during
Wow.
that time, you don't come home. You don't come
Wow.
home. And once that tour is over with, a lot of guys end up going to Europe, like 10 or 12 guys. They'll break off the United States tour and select 10 or 12 guys to go over there and tour. So it's every year was different. Some years I would have years where I would tour for 5 months out of the year, and I'd have 7 months off, which would be great. And then sometimes there would be years when I would, 10 months in a row with no really time off at home to enjoy friends and family. But it was all worth it. There's absolutely no complaining at all about that, because and looking back and reflecting, I realized that all the places I was able to travel, almost 100 countries, as you mentioned, I didn't have to pay for any of them. They paid me to do that. So
Oh,
what a blessing to be able to see
there's
the
a
world.
there's a lot of people
Yeah,
who wish they could do that. Get someone else to
to
pay for
see
their
to
holidays.
yeah, just to see the world and have a different perspective than the one that I had growing up
Yeah.
in small town Arkansas. And I think that was really important, because my reach now, the people that I'm trying to reach, it's not about just right here. It's
Mm.
about the whole world. And one of the things I like to share with people is that if we don't realize now more than ever after what happened in 2020 with COVID, we are connected. And it
Yeah.
does matter what the people next to you do. It's
Yeah.
important to treat people even better than you want to be treated, respectful, and all these things matter.
Mm. Yep, I agree. Completely agree. And what about your name, Flight Time? Herb Flight Time Lang. Like, we know your name's Herb Lang, but where's Flight Time come from?
Well, Karen, I'm glad you asked.
Ah,
No,
thank you.
so we started out talking about my height and how short I was back in when I first started playing sports back in 7th grade.
Yeah.
And I was pretty small for a basketball player, even all the way up through my junior year in high school. And then I had a growth spurt. I grew from about 5'8" to the height that I am right now, which is 6'3". And
Wow.
also during that time, my leaping ability went up. So I dunked the basketball for the first time, the final game of my junior year in high school. And then we ended up going to a basketball camp for like a week during the summer. And I just remember that's when I took off. I went from barely like being able to dunk the ball to during that week at training camp. Not training camp, but the basketball camp that we would go to as a team. I
Mm.
just remember I was getting like 2 or 3 dunks every game, and it was like an out of body experience. And uh, once I started and figured out how to dunk and figured out all the things I need to do to continue to improve my leaping ability, the rest was history after that. And eventually going to not the Globetrotters, to college, and having a good college career, but winning the college slam dunk contest at the Final Four back in San Antonio, Texas, in 1998 is one of the things that propelled me,
Yeah.
to the Globetrotters. But it was when I got to the Globetrotters and the staff there, they saw the leaping ability that I had, and they felt like every time I jumped, I should be getting frequent flower miles. So they started calling me Flight Time. Now, now,
I
now
love
I could use some of those frequent flyer miles now to get over there to Australia. That would be nice.
it. Well, we can't ask you to kind of just leap and bound over because it's a bit of a journey. I love it. When you were I'm thinking about, you had the basketball camps, like you had the camps where you would work with each other and then a team would break off. So there must have been quite a lot of you, quite a few to select the best ones. When you were traveling, I always, because I train teamwork, team building and that sort of stuff. And I always think, what's the perfect
Yeah.
team? And I've been thinking about this just over the last week, from talking to you and thinking, they must have been one hell of a team, because you know, when you're talking about elite sports, you've got to be tight. You've got to be so tight. So how do you, what's the mateship like? I don't know if you use mateship in America, but we use it here. What do you, what's, you know what I mean? Everyone's
You might
mates.
have to explain that one to me a little bit. What's the
Mateship is like, you're my mate, I'm your mate. We got each other's back. You know, we got each
like the
other.
brotherhood?
Yeah,
Yeah, like the
that sort of
connections.
thing. Yep.
Oh, I'm glad you asked that because I'm big on connection. And after I retired from the Globetrotters, well, during my career, I had a chance to do so many cool things, opportunities that some other Globetrotter players, most other Globetrotter players didn't even get. I had a chance to do a lot of reality television shows over here in the United States, some game shows, The Price is Right, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Yeah.
I appeared on Bachelorette, Hell's Kitchen, and a lot of people in Australia recognized me from The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
I had a chance to do The Amazing Race on CBS here in the United States 3 times. I mean, I lost 3 times, but hey, I had a
Who
chance to
cares?
do it. And one of the things that happened with that is that when you're put out on the forefront of national TV like that in the United States for 10, 12 weeks in a row when you're competing, you develop a real tight bond, especially with that person that you're running the race with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're also representing your other teammates.
Mm.
And for me, it was always important when I have an opportunity to be on TV to let people know that it's more than just me. There's a lot of other guys that are just as talented, just as kind, and just as capable as I am. And for me, even after my career, it's always been important to continue to have those connections. So, for example, even before COVID, right before COVID happened, myself after my career ended in 2017, I ended up going to leadership just to get my leadership skills up. It was 3 months in San Diego working with groups of people who didn't really know who I was, and just trying to develop bonds outside the game of basketball. And one of the things I got from that leadership is the importance again of bringing people together. So I started a Facebook group right before COVID, invited anybody who had ever been a part of the Globetrotters organization as a player, as a coach, front office person. You could have been an acrobat. You were invited to be a part of this group. And what happened was in the beginning of starting this group, Karen, we only had 60 people in the group. But once COVID kicked in, we ended up with over 250 people in the Facebook group. And we would meet up twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays, just to connect with each other during that time to make sure that everybody was doing good and figure out how we can support each other. And that's about the brotherhood. That we say, once a trotter, always a trotter. And the things that I'm even doing right now are involving and with the hopes that I'll be able to give some of these guys an opportunity, as well as myself, some opportunities to spread more goodwill during their life, because a lot of them, once they retire, you never hear from them again. But you've got guys that have traveled to as many countries as I have, guys who have played 10, 15, 20 years that have a special message, for the world. We know we've seen the world in a different way from a lot of other people. And, that's what it's all about with us. Once a trotter, always a trotter. It's family and it's the brotherhood. It's a connection.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Why I reached out to you, a couple of weeks ago is you and I both belong to a group, and I saw you put this message in our WhatsApp group, and it's just beautiful. The way you write, the way you express yourself, it's kind of like really raw vulnerability. There's a that toxic male culture. It's like blokes don't say kindness, blokes don't do rainbows, blokes don't do love hearts, that kind of stuff. But you do all that, and you do that, you do it every single day. I read your message every single day. It's out there going, Herb loves you, spread kindness, that sort of stuff. And I absolutely love, I love your energy so much. When I first, saw your first message, and it had, well, I don't know, it was the first one, but it was the first one I saw, and you had in there the Washington Generals. So this amazed me. I'm going to tell you, because I used to watch the Harlem Globetrotters as a cartoon on TV when I was a young kid, and I'm 59, so this is 50 years ago. There was a or something like that. There was a cartoon. How long have they been going?
Well, the Globetrotters started in 1926, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
almost 100. It's almost 100 years now.
Wow. Okay, so they were definitely going. So it could have been then. It was. I just
Oh
remember
yeah, for
this.
sure.
I remember this cartoon, and it was just it was just all these dudes in Harlem Globetrotting, and they were just sort of I don't know, playing basketball. That's what I understood as a kid, and I just thought they were just a basketball team, right? And then when I read your message and it said it was about sacrifice, and you were saying that people there are people in the world that sacrifice for the good of others, because they want to bring goodness to others. And you talked about touring, and you said you toured with the
With the
Washington
Washington Generals.
Generals, and
Yeah.
every game they lost, and it was purely a sacrifice so that the people in the audience would see the Harlem Globetrotters win. And I sat there for probably 20 minutes reading that message and looking at it going, oh my God, I've only just realized that the Harlem Globetrotters were not a team in the NBA. I've only just realized. And all of this time, I never realized it. Then I went, Globetrotters. Oh Jesus. Oh, now I get the whole picture. And I did not even understand it until I saw your message in that group. So tell us about the Washington Generals and about touring with them, and tell us about how the Globetrotters work, because it fascinated me. I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was amazing.
So yeah, so when the Globetrotters started back in the 20s, they were an all African American team, and back then in the United States, African Americans weren't really allowed to integrate and play with people of other races. So Abe Saperstein ended up coming across this group of guys, and Abe was a great promoter, and he ended up coming up with a group of great guys, basketball players on the South Side of Chicago, and they were the Savoy Big Five back then. But Abe wanted to make it bigger. He wanted people to think that the team was world renowned, and he came up with the name Harlem because back then in the 20s, the Harlem Renaissance was huge.
Yeah.
So people would connect African American entertainment with that.
Yeah.
And he threw the name Globetrotters out there to make people think that the team was from all over the world, when actually the team originated not even in Harlem, New York. They originated in Chicago, Illinois,
Yeah.
and began to travel around different places around the Illinois area, playing against whoever would play against them, and eventually becoming who they were. The Globetrotters, doing tricks and things like that. And the vision that Abe Saperstein had, when you're speaking of the NBA, was that eventually, yeah, he wanted to have an NBA team. He wanted the Globetrotters to be an NBA team. The Globetrotters were the team that, kind of incorporated the swag that you see in the game today, the behind the back passes, the alley oops. The way the game is played today has been directly impacted by the Globetrotters back then, and even today, with the 4-point shot. For those who follow basketball, if you're watching some of the things that are going on now with the WNBA, they're testing out new things because people want to see innovation. People want to see things that are a little bit different.
Yeah.
And that's one of the cool things about the Globetrotters. And for me, Karen, I'm going to share something with you. Over the course of the Globetrotters years, there really hasn't been any movies about the Globetrotters. There was one back in the 50s. If you go on YouTube and you type in the Harlem Globetrotters movie, it was an old black and white movie that comes up. Myself, having played 18 years, I was just able to, back in from May to June, for about 2 months, I was able to film and act in a movie called Sweetwater.
Yeah.
And this movie is about the first African American to sign an NBA contract. And within this movie, for me, it was really special because having played 18 years and then being able to go back into the history, really, and kind of focus in on the script and kind of really get a feel for what their vision was back in the day. It just really opened my eyes up that I've lived what these guys were visioning back then. I've already experienced it. And even thinking about that, I'm like, man, there was a lot that they had in their vision that still hasn't happened yet. So I still think that, some of those things are really possible. And the Washington Generals are definitely a big part of the Globetrotters history, because, I mean, imagine the sacrifice that you make when you come out of a college or university as a pretty good basketball player, maybe not NBA, but you're a pretty good basketball player, and you sign up to play in what pretty much the greatest basketball show on earth. You know,
Yeah.
it's an opportunity for you to display your skills, but at the same time, you're also making sacrifice because history says that the Globetrotters are going to win every night. And people used to say, you know, if the Globetrotters lose now, if y'all beat the Globetrotters, it's going to be like Santa Claus not coming for Christmas. So we don't want that to happen. But you know, those guys, they taught me a lot. They taught me that, you know, you can win without winning. And
Mm.
that was something that I valued for a long time because I went from high school, great basketball team. We had a lot of success. In college, I played on a team. I think we had one winning season out of four. So I went from winning to losing, then joining the
Yep.
Globetrotters to always winning. And so, you know, to be able to realize that people were willing to make that sacrifice for the good of the game, and you know, just for an opportunity to be able to see the world and
Mm.
and be able to look into the audience and see the impact that you're having. You may not be winning on the basketball court, but when you are on the back end of a skit or a play that we do, and you're able to look out into that crowd and see a young lady or a young man smiling with their grandparents or their
Yep.
parents, that's what it's all about. And that's one of the reasons why I really developed really good friendship with those guys over the course of years. And those guys are still my friends as well. I mean, they're like a branch of the
Yep.
Globetrotters. They're, you know, once a general, always a general.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So I never knew any of this. This is just, it absolutely spun me off my chair. I'm like, how did you miss all this, Karen? How did you not even get this? But I reckon it's absolutely, I think it's wonderful. And I've been watching a few videos of you, and it's acrobatics. I mean, it's bloody good basketball. You know, like there's no way an acrobat can just fling a ball around their back and then just get a 4-pointer.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are good, bloody, absolutely exceptional. But there's so much acrobatics in it. I've just never seen that sort of stuff, and it's just fantastic. You've got a ball next to you. Spin it for me.
I do got one.
Oh my God. So if you guys are listening, you got to get to the YouTube clip, and you've got to watch him do this. But I've been watching you. I don't know how you do that, but I tell you what, if you honestly, guys, go and watch the YouTube clip and just watch. It's just so easy. I can't even. Anyway, I'm not even going to try, but I love it.
It wasn't easy in the beginning. Trust me. When I first joined the team and I got to training camp, I remember seeing, you know, some of the legendary players that I had grew up watching. I mean, I was able to see within a week. I was able to see Sweet Lou Dunbar, who played for years. And then you talk about the cartoon. He was the one that, you know, you pulling stuff out of his hair. You
Yeah.
know, whatever the team needed on Scooby Doo, for example. You know, if they're on the mystery bus. Oh, we need a wrench. Sweet Lou, pull it out of his hair. Here you go. I got it right there. You know, so to be able to see guys like that, Curly Neal, of course, the legendary Curly Neal. I mean, and then just to see these guys get in the magic circle and do the things that they did with the basketball, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick up on all of that. That's, you know, but when you fall in love with something and you're dedicated to it and you're, you know, a high achiever, you do whatever you have to do. You lock in and you learn. And I remember once I made that team, I ended up getting me a basketball, a red and white and blue one, took it home with me, and I really burned my fingertips off learning how to spin the basketball on my finger. And it took me a good month to just be able to spin it regularly. And it took me years to be able to do some of the up and unders and behind the back. And yesterday I was speaking at a high school, and one of the teachers asked me how long did it take me to learn the tricks. How long did it take me to master the tricks? And I told him, I said, I never mastered. I'm still learning, and I don't even play for the team anymore. But I
Yeah.
still want to be able to go in front of a group of or an audience every now and then and show them that, hey, this is what we do. Once a trotter, always a trotter. And everybody has that Globetrotter story and that memory, and that's something that's really special to be a part of an organization to where everybody's like, man, I remember when. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm super excited about the movie Sweetwater coming out. You know, Sweetwater is going to tell the story of the first African American player to sign an NBA contract, and it's going to bring up a lot of conversation and a lot of childhood memories that people may have forgotten about the Globetrotters. And I'm really excited about it because I think it's going to be the reemergence of Globetrotters into pop culture.
Ah, fantastic. And was he the first so the first African American signed to NBA? And was that, did that just open the floodgates for everyone else, like, Michael Jordan and those who came
It
before
it
him? It
did.
just, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it did. It did. It opened the door for guys like him, Dr. J, Julius Irvin. You had guys like that. You had Bill Russell. Those guys were now able to play in the NBA. Lou Alcindor, because this happened back in the 50s,
yeah,
back in the early 50s. The NBA really didn't, take off, I'd say, until about the 70s when they merged with the ABA.
yeah,
But it definitely opened up the doors, being the first one to sign the contract and being, one of the first ones to actually play in the game, and being a Globetrotter for me. Hey, I think it's pretty cool. And he's from my home state of Arkansas, so even cooler for me that the first, guy that kind of looked like me and talked like me and walked like me was from my home state. So filming that movie, it just gave me even more pride, to not only being a Globetrotter, but also being from where I'm from in Arkansas.
and I'm sure he's not with us anymore, is he? He's be well,
Nope,
well,
he's not. Yeah,
yeah,
he's not with us anymore. But one of the cool things about filming the movie, which we filmed in Hollywood back then, is that his a lot of his family was there. Not a lot of them, but like his daughter, his granddaughter, grandson, and just having them on set, people that knew him, and just it was goosebumps,
yeah,
a goosebump type of situation. Just even with the guy Everett Osborne who's playing Sweetwater, I recall one moment that we had speaking to his daughter, and she said to him, she's like, "You're awesome." She said, "You have his spirit," and for
wow,
them to be able to look at the guy acting and say, "Yeah, you are depicting exactly what my father, what my grandfather was." I can't wait. I can't wait for this movie to come out. I mean, I'm a person who feels like I'm making a big difference in the world. I feel like I'm a person who's on a mission to change the world, and I know that this movie is going to put us even more in that direction to get back into people's now into their phones and into their computers, and let them know that, hey, we're all connected and we get to make this world a better place. It doesn't cost us anything, to be nice to the person next to you, and
yeah,
just because you were taught a certain way, there comes a point in your life where you get to decide and know what's right and what's wrong, and you get to treat people, like I like to say, even better than you can expect to be treated. And
yeah,
that's kind of how I like to carry my life, and I spread that to young people, to businesses, whoever I'm speaking with, and just bring a lot of energy, a lot of passion. And that's
yeah,
one of my things. Like you said, the blokes are think they're too tough to cry and
yeah,
all that stuff, but for me, I have a hard time when I'm speaking sometimes. When I start to touch on things that touch me, sometimes I have to take a deep breath and a step back and pause, because I'm lucky, and a lot of the people that, not a lot of them, but there's a few people who have made a big role in my life that aren't with us anymore. And
yeah,
I share with people that they're not here, but they're here because I'm speaking of them. They're
yeah,
on my Google slide presentation that I'm giving you. So
yeah,
even though they're not here, their legacy is still living. And I know now, that what I'm doing is making a difference, and I get to have a lot of the same. When I'm gone, my legacy still be gone. I mean, our video will still be here. Somebody will be looking at this 100 years from now, saying, "Look at Karen and Herb changing the world."
exactly. I hope someone's still paying for
One,
my
one,
website.
one hammer and a dance move at a time.
That's exactly right. Oh, I love it. So when's it? What is that movie going to be like? Is it a Hollywood movie, or is it a Netflix movie, or like where can we see that when it comes out?
Well, it is a Clint Eastwood Warner Brothers production. So we filmed for about 2.5 weeks on Warner Brothers Studios there in Burbank. We also filmed at Disney Ranch,
Yeah,
Walt Disney's Place, and many other locations around Hollywood. And it's going to be a motion picture. It's coming out in about 1,500, over 1,500 theaters in the United States, and eventually worldwide. So it's a big deal, and I'm excited
great.
about it. And for me, like I was telling you earlier, there really hasn't been a Globetrotter movie since the
Mm,
50s.
yeah,
I was able to appear in Little Nicky back in 2000 with Adam Sandler, but that was just a brief moment that they had during the movie where he was at a Globetrotter game. But this is the first real like motion picture that's really Globetrotter based, and for me to be a part of it and have an opportunity to represent myself, my family, and my other teammates was more than a dream come true. And
yeah,
Karen, it's funny being on set, because as Globetrotters, we're on stage every single night. We are acting. We are literally putting on a performance each and every night, and there hasn't been a lot of opportunities for us in that space of acting, which is kind of disappointing considering the fact that we have traveled to so many different places. We do know how to act, we do know how to perform, we
Yeah.
do know where the cameras are, and having that opportunity to actually act in this movie and have speaking lines and create speaking lines, it was important for me to make sure that I did the best job that I could so that these opportunities will come more frequently, not
Yeah.
only for myself but for my teammates as well. Because the producers and the directors, there was two of us that were actually Globetrotters out of the six players that they were depicting on the movie. Myself and a guy, Kevin Special K Daly, and I just remember a couple times in between the filmings and the breaks and a couple of night scenes, the directors would come onto the bus and say, "Do you guys realize how good of a job you're doing? How well you have you
Wow.
have you really not ever acted before? Have you not been in movies? I mean, we've done commercials and
Mm.
other activities and appeared on morning shows and all of that good stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, this is what we do. I've been acting for 18 years,
Yeah.
and of course, I'm going to be good at. We've gone through script reading, we've gone through rehearsals,
Yeah.
and so I'm excited. I'm excited to
Mm.
get the word out there. I think that a lot of these NBA players and basketball players and athletes are going to realize the impact that the Globetrotters did have on the careers that they're having now and the impact that they've had on the world. Just
Yeah.
being ambassadors and being able to go places. For example, I think about my former coach, Tex Harrison, and he used to tell us the story of, I think there was a war going on in South America, like in Peru.
Mm.
And they stopped the war for the Globetrotters to come in and perform for a couple of days. And when
Oh,
the Globetrotters left, they started back fighting again. So I mean, that's powerful.
wow. That is powerful, isn't it? But why did they start again? This is what I don't get. Like even with a normal war, they call a truce on Christmas Day. Nobody is allowed to shoot anybody on Christmas Day, and then they start again. I don't even get that stuff. Like why we even anyway? Why we even have to have it? But you are also, speaking of your so you're acting in that show, and I love that you want to do more acting, and I hope that really comes your way. But you're also you're working with a Hollywood company to
Yeah.
bring to fruition one of your many TV show concepts. So tell us about that. I hope that happens too.
Well, yeah, one of the things that I'm working on is a documentary that I can't really speak too much on right now, but I also I mentioned to you earlier that I was on The Amazing Race 3 times, and during those 3 appearances on Amazing Race, season 15, 18, and 24, I was able to develop a pretty good friendship with the producer Bertram Van Munster. And once my Globetrotter career ended, and this is one of the things that again I share with the youth. When I was young, I had more than just a dream of being a basketball player. I had a dream of entertaining. Michael Jackson was my hero. I wanted to be able to dance like Michael Jackson. I had visions of being in movies. And so for me, once my Globetrotter career was over with and having an opportunity to do commercials and be behind the scenes of so many different television shows in so many different countries, I took it in. I didn't just sit there. I
Mm.
watched the way the audiences react. I watched the way the people behind the cameras worked. And so when it was all over with, this was an opportunity for me now to pursue my second dream, my second vision, which was to be in Hollywood and to put stuff out into the world that's going to be positive and uplifting and is going to serve a purpose.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm really, one of the things I'm working on besides the documentary is a sports game show. I have a sports game show concept that I have been slowly incorporating into my visits to the schools, getting B-roll and things like that. But again, the thing that I'm working on as far as the sports show is something that's bringing people together. It's partnering young people up with old people and just having fun without giving away the entire general concept of it. But I just encourage people, man, keep dreaming. Anything is possible. And if somebody says you can't do it, you show them.
Yeah.
I'm a perfect example of it. Just so many things have happened to me through kindness. The TED talk that I was just able to do happened through kindness. I didn't know the guy. It was a young lady that I met on LinkedIn who was also doing a TED talk, and she knew the facilitator, and she felt like just within a 30-minute conversation of us talking, she felt like, I'm going to introduce you to the facilitator of the TEDx talk. And
Yeah.
I ended up meeting him, which eventually led to us being a part of a group and us having this conversation right now. And again, it's kindness is free. I didn't pay that person to introduce me to the facilitator of the TEDx talk.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it works. And when she did that, not expecting anything in return, and she's gotten a lot in return. We've gotten a great friendship.
Yeah.
We have visions of working together here down the road as far as going in and speaking to young people and working with former professional athletes. So it pays off. Kindness pays. And again, not expecting anything in return, not what's in it for me, other than the fact that it's going to make your heart feel good and you're going to be a part of something that's changing the world.
Yep. Yeah. And you got to look at the world for future generations as well. Do you know, like, you know, what do we want to leave? I always reckon if we're on this planet, we've got to leave something better than when we came here. We've got to leave it in a better state. Like at least our footprint needs to be in a better state than when we came, you know. And I've got this big philosophy that is, you know, that I want to plant the trees of the shade I'll never sit under, you know, and plant as many as I can, you know, and I don't care about the bloody shade. I care about someone else enjoying it, and that's how we should live. I mean, I know I shouldn't tell everyone else how they should live, but you know,
you're giving great advice, so keep preaching.
I do preach. I'm a bit of a naggy preacher, but I just don't understand. I just think if we can make a difference, why wouldn't we? That just, you know, like, because it's better for us, it's better for the people around us, it's better for the energy of the planet, it's better for future generations. I just don't. There's no good comes of being a mean mongrel prick. You know, everything good comes from being kind and being, I don't know, just giving love and talking about it.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, the impact that I know that I'm making and that I get to make after my Globetrotter career was over with, I'm not gonna lie. I went into a little bit of a depression. I was down and out. After 18 years, I have been committed to this one organization for so long, and it was so much fun. It was such a joy. When it ended, it ended abruptly. But at the same time, one of the things I was able to do was connect with my former teammates, connect with former college teammates, connect with people that I went to high school with, and kind of talk about, you know, my career and what I was going through. And, you know, in 2017, I was able to do that. I was able to go back to my hometown and go to different events and hear some of the thoughts that people had of me, and to hear people that were my age or a couple years younger after my Globetrotter career was over say to me, hey man, I remember when, you know, when you were in high school and then when you went to college, you showed me, you know, that it was possible. You know, you showed me back then. So it made me realize that even as a teenager, I was impacting people, you know? And so once my Globetrotter career was over with, all the speaking that I had done, all the appearances I had done, the commercials, it just made sense to me that this is what I get to do. You know, I'm good at this. I've been good at this since I was a young boy, and I get to continue to inspire people and to have, you know, young men and young women even now, after my appearances on school appearances, or even after the games, to go online and email you, or later on down the road, man, I remember when I went to see you when I was 5 years old and you were my favorite player. And it's that's what it's all about. It's that legacy. It's that impact that we have for people. And like you said, if we leave this thing just a little bit better than it was when we got here, that's what it's all about. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I know that's what you're doing as well.
Yeah, it really matters, doesn't it? And it reminds me when you're talking too, it's about, I don't know who listens to this podcast too, you know, and then I get a message out of the blue. Every week I get a couple of messages, you know, just, hey, I was listening to this, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were listening to it, you know, but people from all around the world, and it's fantastic. And even when you're not feeling at your best, because you were talking about, you know, when you finish with the Globetrotters, you're feeling down and out and all that kind of stuff. The key is just keep showing up. Just keep showing up, because somebody is watching you. You know, and even if you're showing up down and out, you know, you're showing up vulnerable, you're showing up raw, you know, you're showing up hurt. It doesn't matter. Keep showing up, because if you're truly yourself and truly standing in your authenticity, somebody needs to see that. You know, you impact somebody's life. So just keep showing up. Just keep showing up. You know, it's massively important. I think sometimes we want to hide away, but I don't think that's a good thing. You know, somebody's missing out on you, on your energy, just on you, you know.
Karen, you mentioned about the messages that I send in the WhatsApp group. These messages come from me through meditation,
Yeah.
and I don't get them every day. So I try to I pray to God and the universe that I can get 5 to 7 days of good messages that I can put out, to people. And the feedback that I get, for me, it makes it worth it. And selfishly at this time is when I get to be selfish, because when I'm sending 100 text messages and I'm getting a response that, oh, thank you, I needed that today. Oh, thank you for that. Oh, I had this situation happen yesterday, and this is just in line with what you just spoke. And it's like, wow, I impacted somebody, and my day hasn't even started yet. It's not even 8 or 9 o'clock yet, and I've already got 10 positive messages from people who needed what I was able to give to them. And I got it, from
Yeah.
God in the universe. So it's only right that I give it back.
Yeah, and your messages are actually like a pause. You see, you kind of scrolling, you do your stuff, and then it's this bam, and you just stop and you just read it. And this is how it is for me reading your messages. It's kind of like it's kind of like meditation. Actually, it's kind of like everything stops, and you're sitting in this beautiful present moment, just reading your beautiful words. And it's enough to make you stop and breathe. And even if that's all you're doing, which you're not, you're doing way more than that. But even if that was it, like, you're just putting that pause in everybody's day, just to stop
Just stop and think.
breathe and take that love in. Yeah. And it's we often don't do that. So,
It took me again. I toured with the Globetrotters for 18 years, and there's things that I had to learn post Globetrotting. Like, I had to develop a new routine, a new consistency to get me to the level that I wanted to get. And one of the things that I did after I left the Globetrotters was write a book.
Yep.
I wrote a book, and the book, Projects, Popes, and Presidents, it was able to allow me to unleash some of the things I had been going through. It was therapy, for me, so to speak. And I never really saw myself as a philosopher or anything like that, but people like the messages that I send. And when I miss a couple of days, I don't send anything. Even my dad, like, oh, is everything okay? My mom, she's like, hey, I didn't get the message today. And my high school basketball coach, the one who had the biggest impact on my life, I mean, he's almost 80 years old, and we still text to this day. He gets the messages as well. And I had a conversation with his son, who was my best friend, and he was just telling me, he said, man, my dad, he sure does appreciate those messages every day. He said that he gets up, he does his morning routine. He said he sits down at the table, and he just really started using phone, like the new technology, the iPhones and the Androids. He just started using them probably about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But my friend said that he really appreciated the fact that me and his dad were still connected. He said that his dad gets up every morning, and he knows that he about to get that message at some point of the day. And that right there lets me know that it's a good thing. And my coach knows that what he did for me as a young kid growing up is impacting the world. He's almost 80 years old, but he can see that his protege or his prodigy is carrying on his legacy even now. So I mean, I hope that gives him great satisfaction as long as he's alive, as well as the other people that have impacted my life.
Yeah. You must be carrying so much pride in that heart.
Oh yeah, hey, that's why I wear this kindness. I wear it on my heart right here.
Speaking, I want to come
It,
back to your book. Speaking of those T-shirts, I was watching you on Instagram printing the kindness patch, the logo. I'm with this home T-shirt press that you've got. God, that was good. That I just love that.
Hey, I do it all, Karen. I trademarked my brand Swag Ball in 2020. I co-authored a book during that time, but I figured the best way for me to, get some product out there is to print it up myself sometimes. So when I'm going to different speaking events, I can take a few T-shirts, I can take a couple of books with me, and it feels good to be able to do more than one thing. I like to be able to get my hands on into a little bit of everything, because eventually it's going to become a big thing, and I'm not going to be as hands-on, but at the same time, I know what it takes to get these things done because I've done them. So it's going to be really hard to give me a bunch of excuses when I've actually done a lot of these things, like write a book. I make my own shirts. I brand it myself. I go out and I speak. I'm creative. like it's hard for me to accept excuses when I know it's possible if we put
Yeah.
our mind to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good message to say to people when you want to start something is you're just going to have to get your hands dirty. When you start, you have to get your hands dirty. And I actually think it's good to do all of those little things in a business, because then you know exactly how it goes. You can't just throw money at someone and say, oh, can you fix this for me? You know, if you're doing it yourself, you're like, I really appreciate it. Now I really appreciate what goes into it. And it's plus you got your hands on something. I absolutely love that. Now your book,
and I have fun. I'm dancing when I'm making my shirts.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure you.
I know, with your dog. I know it's absolutely.
Hey, wait till you see my next one. I have another one that I haven't posted yet. It was like from last year. It's my 7-year-old nephew and I. We're making shirts together. I'm like, it's so easy. A 7-year-old could do it. And when I'm putting out these, you know, the videos or examples that, yeah, you can do this yourself. You can actually do this if you put your mind to it. What I realized is that people, you can lay it out for them and write their X, Y, and Z, A, B, C, and they still won't do it. So it's sad, but it doesn't really matter. It's not like you're putting something out there that people are going to steal, so to speak, because people not taking the extra steps. I wish that people would, but I have no thoughts, bad thoughts about putting things out there, or somebody may steal an idea. Please, if you're stealing an idea to spread kindness, please take it from me, because I took it from somebody myself.
That's what I reckon too. I've got my kindness project, you know, which is for primary school kids. I'm the same. Steal the bloody thing and just get moving with it. Let's just teach these kids kindness. But I love it. And your book, Projects, Popes, and Presidents. I'm annoyed with myself because you've got it. I left mine out in the lounge room. I wanted to hold it up. That book.
I got it.
That book is fantastic, and if you're looking for a really good story, that's a great book. And you do go into a lot more depth in that about your childhood than you just talked about. And it wasn't quite as pretty as you just said at the start of this interview, but I think it's really good for people to know, to read and see that, like, people don't just become Harlem Globetrotters. People just don't become, international superstars. People don't become all this sort of stuff overnight because they're born with a silver spoon in their mouth. You know, a lot of the time there's been a real intense struggle, like I said before, you could have gone down to reach
the high level.
Yeah, and it's so that book, I reckon that is a fantastic book, and I'm only a part of the way through it. I wanted to get it finished before I spoke to you. I was like, I didn't quite get there, but it's a fantastic book. So you want to be so proud.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
I feel like there's more there. I feel like there's more on the way. I mean, I was even able to co-author in another book called Jim Rich Cracking the Rich Code. So in here you have Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. You have a forward there from Tony Robbins, and this is volume 4. There's actually a author from Australia. Each one of us wrote one chapter in this book.
Yeah.
And my chapter is called The Kindness Bridge to Wealth, and it has nothing to do with money. And so again, I'm as LeBron James says, I am more than an athlete. I am capable of doing anything. And I feel like anybody else is just as capable. So I'm no different from you. I'm no better than you. If I did it, you can do it, and we can do it together.
Yeah. 100%. You and I need to work on a kindness project together. I reckon that's what we have to do.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Let's build some kindness. Build up kindness.
Do you want to? Let's do it. All right. We're locking it in. Smack it down. Let's go. Absolutely.
You got me hyped this morning. I'm gonna have a good walk this morning.
Yeah. God, I love you. You're just bloody amazing. Well, I'm going to let you go because I've already taken an hour of your time. You've got to do your morning routine. Actually, you've just flown back in from Austin, so you've got to go back to bed. That's it's 6 o'clock over there. But look, Herb, I have loved this conversation so much. I just, I don't know, you just speak to my soul. You're just the most beautiful human. You're just absolutely beautiful. Oh, wait, I've got to ask you about my get off the bench question. So
Get off the bench. Don't miss it, coach. Come on, let me in. I'm ready to play. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Get me off the bench.
I know that you, I know it's a different bench. Well, it's kind of like, yeah, it's the same thing. But when you go out to schools and you're basically saying, come on, kids, get off the bench. Let's go. Let's do this thing. What's the biggest message that you're trying to get through to them, other than kindness? Like, what are you trying to inspire in them when you give them messages?
I try to encourage them to connect,
Yep.
be connected and be thoughtful. And again, like I said, the examples that I give, like I was able to give with my Google slide, I was able to show them photos
Yep.
of teachers that didn't necessarily look like me, two teachers who believed in me that were, white ladies, so to speak. And then my high school basketball coach.
Yep.
These ladies are still in my life today,
Yep.
so it's about connection. Some point in your life, nobody got to a high level by themselves.
Yep.
So it's important that you connect while you're young, get that instilled in you right now. And also I encourage young people to think for themselves. There comes a point where
Yep.
your parents and your friends and your family, they're doing the best that they can, but nobody's perfect. So at some point you got to say, hey, I want to take a little bit of what my uncle got right there. I really like it that he's like that. My dad, he has this capability, this superpower. I'm going to work on that superpower. And you create the superhuman that you get to be. And so that's what I instill: connection. It was so awesome to be in Austin a couple of days ago speaking at this high school, because the person that's the principal at the high school that brought me there was my best friend, one of my best friends growing up in high school and in school. We went to kindergarten together. We went to the zoo together. We played high school football together.
Yeah.
We lived right next door to each other growing up. And now he's the principal at one of the biggest high schools in Texas. And then my other friend who was there is also a teacher in Austin. And he's the one who introduced me to the ideal of being a Globetrotter. So to be able to have both of those guys there and show those 500 freshmen that this guy right here is the reason why I got with the Globetrotters. Okay. And this guy right here is the reason why I am at your school. And this guy's your principal. We just had a conversation last night for hours about how much he cares about the young people and how he's, so lucky to be able to do what he does. And that's what it's all about. This is not him telling you guys. This is him telling me one-on-one what his passion is and how blessed he is to be able to be here in front of you guys. And so for me, that's what it's all about. It gives me goosebumps even, talking about these things, because I just get excited, especially with the school year coming up and having the chance to really touch a bunch of young people.
Yeah. Well, I love you. I just think what a message. Go on, you're going to spin your basketball again, aren't you? Yeah.
We're going to spin it out. We're going to spin it out. For those people who want to find Flight Time, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at DA_Trotter4. I'm also very busy on LinkedIn as the motivational speaker. You are right here with Karen from Down Under. Let's go, baby. Let's change the world. Kindness is free.
I absolutely love you. And he's also got a website, by the way, herblang.com. But I have absolutely loved this. Thank you so much for being a show off. What does that say? Kindness is free.
It's a pop socket for your phone. We don't stop. We don't stop, Karen. We're spreading the word. We're changing the world around here. Australia, everywhere. New Zealand, everywhere. UK, South Africa, South America. We're changing the world, Karen.
I know. And I can't wait till you come down under again. I tell you, I can't wait. But that's going to be bloody. You can teach me how to spin that basketball, all right?
And you can teach me how to build and dance.
I can do that for you. Absolutely. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I've absolutely loved this conversation. You're just beautiful. You got beautiful heart, beautiful energy. And I am so lucky to have you as a friend, but I just love what you're giving to the world. Love what you're giving to the world.
Thank you for allowing me to use your platform, and thank you for doing what you do for the young ladies down there in the southern parts of Australia. And I'm sure you're impacting even beyond just there. So kudos to you. And I enjoy your energy. I enjoy your heart. And I didn't say this, but I didn't tell you this, but I actually did tell you this, but if you survey probably 100 Globetrotters that have been to Australia, probably 95 of them will say that that's the favorite country that they ever went to perform in. So kudos to the people down under. We love you.
Yeah, we're pretty cool. We are. I love you too. All right. Well, you have a fantastic day, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.